What does it look like for a 45-year-old male to contribute $5,000 per month into an indexed universal life insurance policy to save for retirement? I'm gonna show you. We've got a male, age 45 years old, standard non-tobacco health rating. This is a strategic accumulator IUL, and we're gonna be looking at an illustration. The minimum death benefit for max cash value in this policy is $868,574. Day one, you contribute $5,000, you have $868,000 over your head in the form of death benefit coverage. So we're going to be looking at an actual draft schedule of $15,000 a quarter, which is $60,000 per year. And in this illustration, we're only going to be looking at a 10-year funding period. Now, we will go over the max and the minimum contribution guidelines, but for now, we're focused on the fact that we're looking at a 10-pay, $60,000 a year, even contributions, right? And then no more funding is going to go into this policy. These hashtag marks also let us know that the policy's death benefit was leveled out on year 11. This switch is going to get us more money out of the policy. Now, this illustration in particular has 3 different columns or projections inside of it. And this first column that we've been seeing here is the guaranteed column. If you're somebody who thinks that insurance agents never go over the guarantees, hi, I'm Casey, and I go over the guarantees all the time. So what we're seeing is a 2% annual credit that is guaranteed, but we're also seeing the maximum allowed charges. So ultimately, this is the worst possible scenario or outcome because maximum charges, right? The other columns are going to show the current charges and then a 2% return. Now, are you going to get 2% every year guaranteed? No, of course not. You have a 0% floor. You don't have a 2% floor. The 2% guarantee is letting you know that long term, if the policy hasn't performed more than on average 2%, right, annually up until that point, say on year 20, then the policy's performance will be trued up to the guarantees. This is very unlikely. So this guaranteed column or guaranteed projections, these are also very unlikely. The S&P 500 would literally have to not do anything for the next 10 years to get these results. Right here, we have a non-guaranteed alternate. So we have the current charges in this projection, and then we have indexed credits and fixed account credits, because in my index allocation recommendation, I used fixed and indexed accounts, which the fixed account with this company earns 4.5%. So that's where that number is coming from. It's as if we put all of our money into that 4.5% fixed bucket. On year 1, $60,000 has gone in. Our guaranteed columns showed $50,000 in the account value, $52,000 in the account value over here, right? The net cash surrender value has $24,800, and the death benefit has increased to $920. Because an increasing death benefit option means that we go from $868 plus the account value equals the death benefit, right? Now, every year, that is what's going to happen in every single column. So we have 1.4 over here and 1.48. If you were to take the 868, add $500,000, right? Add 620, you are going to get the death benefit amount. That is how the IUL is set up in this case scenario. Now, the net cash surrender value. What is that? Because it wasn't part of our equation right here. The net cash surrender value is letting you know that after the surrender charge, this is what you have available if you were to cancel or if you wanted to access your cash value. So $24,000 being in the net cash surrender value on year 1 means that your policy is actually valued at $52,000, and that is the amount of money that you are going to be earning interest on. However, because it's year 1, because we're in what's called the surrender period, you only have access to $24,000. And if you want to cancel, you can only get back $24,000. If you want to borrow from your policy, this carrier allows you to borrow up to 90%. So you can borrow up to 90% of that $24,000, but not 90% of the $52,000. And you can never borrow any money from the death benefit. Now let's look at year 2. We're still only looking at a 4.5% return, right? Year 2 is saying that our account value is now at $106,000. That's how much we're earning interest on, right? And we have access to $80,000. New death benefit is $974. Let's just jump to year 5. On year 5, at a 4.5% return, we are earning interest on $280,000. We have access to $261,000, and we have $1.14 million in death benefit over our head. At this point, how much money has been contributed? $300,000. 5 years in, half of $600,000 is $300,000. $300,000 is what we've contributed. We're doing all right. For having put in $300,000, we have $280,000. Let's keep going to year 10. $600,000 went in. We have $620,000 earning interest, and we have $615,000 available. Right? Amazing. Now, when we switch the death benefit and stop funding the policy, it happens to be the same year that the surrender period is over. So now, on year 11, we are going to see that our account value and our cash value are equal. There's no more surrender charge. If you want to cancel your policy, you're going to get back the total account value. If you want to take a loan or a withdrawal, you have access to the total account value, okay? So at a 4.5% return, $600,000 turned into $644. Let's go ahead and look at my FAR column, right? Our FAR column is showing a 6.31% average annual return, current charges, and year 1, we're earning interest on $52,000. We have access to $25,000, and we have $920 over our head, very similar to our 4.5% return column. We just have a little bit more money. So let's go ahead and look at year 5. On year 5, we have $291 earning, $271 available, $1.15 in the death benefit. By year 10, that $600,000 has resulted in $672 earning, $667,000 available, and instead of $644 that same year that the surrender period is over, we have $710. So $710 is earning interest, $710 available off of our $600,000. And something very important has happened. When we leveled out the death benefit, our death benefit went from 1.5 and dropped down to $1 million. Now, some people might think like, holy crap, I wanted that coverage. What happened? Doesn't make sense. Well, that's us lowering the death benefit to maintain a lower cost of insurance and have more cash value available for this person's retirement income, right? So that is a fantastic thing. We love to see that drop. Now, if this was a death benefit priority policy, obviously that would not be fantastic and we would not want that to happen. But that's not the strategy that we're talking about, okay? So let's scroll down farther into this policy and check out the long-term growth here. Let's blow it up a little bit so that we can see the full thing. No money has gone into the policy at all, right? We stopped funding that policy after year 10. It is now year 21. The same $600,000 is all that was contributed. No money's gone in. And then what is happening here This person is now taking an annual supplemental income for their retirement starting at age 65. So they finished funding this policy at 55, waited 10 years to touch the policy, let it continue to grow. We had 710,000. Where is it at now? Almost 1.2 million. So we've doubled our money. We have 1.4 mil in death benefit coverage this whole time, right? And now we're going to start taking $108,000 per year in the form of a loan. This is a fixed loan. When it says distribution amount type, it is a fixed loan here. So by year 30, they took out 10 years of income. 600,000 went in. We have $1,080,000 outstanding. Let's scroll over. At 4.5%, the policy still had money in the cash value. We were still keeping this policy alive. Obviously, we can see these zeros. We will come back and talk about this. But over here at our 6.31% return, after $1 million has been taken out, we still have plenty of money over here in our policy. We still had $1 million over our head. It does start to taper off, which should be expected, right? Because we've taken out all of this money. But before we move on, let's talk about this 4.5% return column and our guaranteed column. Okay. So the guaranteed column said, hey, at 68, 69, after getting out about 400 and so thousand, the policy would have lapsed, canceled on itself, right? However, there is an overloan protection rider in this policy that comes with it. So the policy would not have lapsed. It still would have provided some death benefit coverage, and this client would not have been hit with tax complications or taxes due because the policy lapsed, because it didn't lapse, because there's an overloan protection rider. If you need to figure out more about the overloan protection rider, you're going to have to go dig into my content or stay tuned and ask me to talk about it in more depth. Now, the middle column, this one, it ended after we got $1 million out of the policy. It's saying, hey, down here, overloan protection rider would have kicked in, death benefit still would have been provided, tax consequences would not have been the result. Now, the overloan protection rider kicks in at age 65 for this client. So anytime after 65, policy is protected from lapsing. Now, if the policy had not performed at a 6.3% long-term, right, and our policy had more like 900,000 in it and not 1.2, we wouldn't have taken the full 108. Over here, when we had $500,000, we would not have taken 108, right, to keep the policy in force. So these columns look really bad. Well, they're also showing this 108 come out, right? So if we wanted the policy to stay in effect, we wouldn't have pulled this money. I'm focused on the 6.31% return on the far side. Our client is now 84, 85 years old. 600,000 has gone in. 2.16 million has come out. And over here, we still have plenty of money. Wildly enough, the death benefit and cash value even started going back up. Why is that? Well, because if you understand how an IUL works, right, then you would understand what I told you in the beginning is that the account value is the amount of money that's earning interest, right? That is still true during retirement. And when we take loans, we don't actually devalue our asset. So this entire time, we've been earning interest on millions of dollars, even though we're taking out these loans. So that is now replenishing the value of our policy, our cash value, our death benefit, and increasing the overall value, ultimately allowing us to continue to take these loans as long as possible. We get down here to age 94, 95, 3.2 million has come out, 600,000 is all that went in. And I like to run these numbers as far as I can, as far as they'll let me, which is till age 120, which is a bit ridiculous. It's showing 6 million come out. So let's just stop it right here. If you did live to a good old 104, 600,000 turned into 4.3, And this is just insane. And here are our guidelines. The guideline level annual premium. Our GLAB is our max contribution for the life of the policy, right? So that number, 60,004 cents. The 7-pay premium is 66,000, right? That's only for the first few years of funding. We get a little bit extra room in there. Client's not going to do that. They're going to do those even distributions or contributions for the first 10 years. So we ignore the 7-pay. Then we have the target premium. The target premium, our goal per year for the life of the policy, 21,000, right? So a third of the desired contribution. However, this company also has what's called a minimum no lapse premium, where I like to call this the oh shit guideline, where worst case scenario, you can't contribute the target premium, you just contribute the 10,008, which is now a sixth of the desired contribution, right, per year. So we have tons of flexibility. On year 11, we switched to the death benefit option from increasing to level, right? Well, on year 11, the new guideline level annual premium becomes $9,700. So instead of being able to contribute $60,000 on year 11, we switched that death benefit, and now $97,000 is the max contribution. Don't you think that the cost of insurance for a policy that will only accept $9,700 a year is a lot less expensive than a policy who will let you contribute $60,000 a year? Yeah, there's a method to my madness over here, all right? So there you have it, folks. Now, fair warning, everybody. Just because I show you how the IUL works and how it could benefit you does not mean that you can go to any agent and get a policy like this. I can only promise you that an IUL will work this way if I set it up or you work with my team. I wish it wasn't like this. This is how it is. These results will vary depending on who you work with. So if you want to be sure that your policy is set up correctly, and you want to know how it works, you want to be educated, I'm the only agent there is. Let me know in the comments what you want to see next time. What age? Contribution amount? When do you want to see retirement income? Let me know all of the details, and I might just do your comment for the next video. I'll see you next time.